62. Beyond the Line. Settling in at Free at Last farm, I felt the weight of my past slowly lifting, like the autumn morning mist that clung to the Buffelsdrift Valley. The chaotic stress of my previous life, culminating in the turmoil of my divorce, began to fade into the distance. As I breathed in the tranquility of my new surroundings, the Klein Karoo's unique beauty began to heal my soul. The crash calls of the hardydaws, the gentle rustle of the wind through the thorn trees, and the soft whisper of the leaves on the young olive trees. The farm itself was a testament to the power of transformation. Keith had discovered it in ruins, a shell of its former self. But with the help of a small team of dedicated workers, he painstakingly rebuilt the house, restoring it to a newfound splendor. Together, they coaxed life from the barren earth, and the space was infused with a sense of serenity and repose. As I explored the property, I felt a deep connection to the land and the sanctuary it provided. Nestled within a conservancy, the farm teemed with life, including free-roaming zebras and red hartebeest that frequently grazed on the surrounding slopes. The stillness of the Karoo air was a balm to my frazzled nerves. From our hilltop perch, we witnessed breathtaking sunrises and sunsets, kaleidoscopic explosions of color that left us enchanted. The land seemed to hold and support me, guiding me toward a new direction and fulfillment. But despite the tranquility of my new surroundings, I couldn't shake the weight of my obligations. The divorce process had been costly, and the settlement terms added to my burden. I was struggling to come to terms with my new reality, facing a daunting financial landscape. I knew I needed a new perspective, a way to sever the chains of fear and self-doubt once and for all. Keith's gaze held mine, a steady anchor that calmed the turbulence within me. We sat together outside, the warm sun on our skin, as I shared my concerns with him. With the divorce, you drew a line in the sand with Henny, he said gently. It marked the end of a familiar cycle, but it seems to me that you're still trapped in that cycle. With a stick, he drew a line in the sand, and at one end, a circle that intersected it, looping back to its starting point. This is the repetition of the old pattern, he explained. Keith's voice was low and soothing as he continued. This line represents the threshold between the old you and the new you, but between the past and the future. You've been trying to straddle both worlds, sweetheart. Now it's time to step beyond the line and set yourself free. As I beheld the symbol, its power electrified my senses. Inspired, I sprang into action, fetching a printed copy of my divorce settlement agreement. Rereading it, I was reminded of the lump sum payment I would give him upon the successful registration of the sale of my house. Aside from that, there was another financial implication, and it was this one phrase that jumped out: a monthly ex gratia contribution towards his living expenses. Keith and I discovered that ex gratia meant out of goodwill. The irony was staggering. After all the pain and suffering Henny had caused me, I was still being asked to show him kindness and generosity as if I owed him a debt of gratitude. It felt like a twisted sense of justice, where the perpetrator was being rewarded for their actions while the victim was left to carry the burden. I realized that I had been shouldering this burden out of a sense of dread and fear, but the truth was, I couldn't afford it. It was like carrying a massive boulder on my back. Every step felt like a struggle, and I knew I couldn't sustain it forever. I turned to Natasha for support, and together we made the decision to suspend the monthly payments. She informed Henny via email that I was no longer working and had no means of supporting myself, let alone him. Inevitably, this decision triggered a vicious and unyielding pursuit by Henny, who was hell-bent on extracting every last penny from me. When Natasha refused to divulge my new address and whereabouts, his anger and determination only intensified. He vowed to track me down, to uncover my new location, and serve me with a civil lawsuit to force me to pay him the monthly installments. It was like being stalked by a relentless predator, always looking over my shoulder, never knowing when the next brutal attack would come. As I navigated the darkest corners of my existence, I couldn't shake the feeling that my life was a battleground of extremes. Light and darkness, good and evil, dread and elation. The contrasts seemed to stretch on forever. Every time I thought I'd emerged into the light, having finally broken free from a cycle of pain, I'd soon find myself facing a fresh facet of the same trauma in another area of my life. It was as if I was trapped in a labyrinth, with each door I opened leading only to more twisted corridors. Was I trapped in this vortex by design? My soul bound to this karmic journey? Or was I forever tied to a cycle of trauma, doomed to repeat the patterns of my past? And then there was the pressing question of Esther Marie, the car and phone contract that I was still paying for. What was driving this endless cycle? Was there a way to break free? Or was I forever trapped? Was I brave enough to confront the darkness within, or would I remain forever lost in its shadows?